Hi, it's Dr. Maggie Perry with Tell Me What You're Proud Of. This is our first group session. So I have today here Patrice, Jared, Scout, and Sophie. And so these are de-identified real clients using different names and different voices. And they're going to share their experience, both individually, how they relate to anxiety and OCD, and then also talk together as a group, mimicking what happens in a huddle.care group. So thanks all of you for being here for this group. We'll get started like we do in the huddle.care groups by everyone introducing themselves based on what they're suffering. So we never, for privacy, we never talk about any identifying details, but we just talk about the content of our anxiety so that we can relate to each other in that way. So when people introduce themselves, they're just introducing whatever they're suffering from. And then also they're saying what they're proud of. So what they're proud of is a moment that they related to their anxiety, OCD, or depression effectively. It's not necessarily something like I got a new promotion or I got engaged to be married or something that like people might feel proud of or think that are the only reasons to feel proud in everyday life. What we're trying to capture here is that relating effectively to mental illness is something to be proud of in a moment by moment daily kind of way. And so even if you're having lots of moments where it feels like anxiety or OCD or depression is really beating you up, if you can hold on to any given moment where you're relating effectively and then try to generalize or reinforce those moments over time, those will string together and then help you relate to your anxiety, OCD, or depression more effectively. So let's get started. Patrice, can you go first with introducing yourself and what you're proud of?
I have OCD and anxiety, and mostly anticipatory anxiety and OCD around health issues, contamination, harm, and not just right thinking. And I'm proud of the fact that this past week, one of my oldest brother was exposed to COVID, and he's previously had a lot of health problems. And so I'm proud of myself that I have been able to just, check in with him each day like the rest of the family, but not take over as far as catastrophizing that, lining up care, calling the doctor, all the things that I in the past would have done for fear that he might not do it. And I'm staying grateful that he's doing well and he's taking care of his own care. So until I'm needed, I'm going to step back and be grateful.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that. I know that in light of your history of health anxiety, typically, if you or somebody else was sick, you kind of would become compulsive about trying to figure out what's happening and how you can contribute. Are you feeling anxious when you kind of sit back and allow him to take care of his own health?
Initially I was, and a little bit, but each day that we've talked to him, he has assured us that if he needs it, he's going to call the doctor, he'll follow through with testing, and this is a big step for him. So each time he relates in that way, I guess I want to give him the same credit that I would want if it was another family member relating to me. And so that gets easier to deal with the anxiety.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks so much for that example. Jared, can you go next?
Yeah, my content area is ADHD, depression, anxiety, and OCD. And I am proud of the fact that I actually went on a bike ride yesterday, just finally getting to remember that feeling.
Yeah, that's great. So I know that you've kind of been struggling with depression lately, and you have some anticipatory anxiety about getting started and kind of like difficulty with initiation when it comes to behavioral activation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, can you say a little bit more about that? Why do you think you might have trouble getting started when it comes to doing things to kind of get your body moving?
I remember like in the very beginning, it was more tended towards people. I just had a lot of anxiety about how people would look at me or they're staring at me like just riding my bike. And that would actually make me very nervous and very, very anxious in terms of trying to even initiating just getting outside the house. So the fact that I was able to do that and really just remind myself not to think about the consequences and not to think about the results and just go out and ride, it was just that much easier. And it was a healthy reminder for me that, okay, now you're just so much more, you just feel a lot more clear-minded after doing such an exercise. So yeah, endorphins.
Yeah, that's great. I'm really happy to hear that. And I know, I mean, it may be either a symptom of depression or ADHD or both that makes you kind of forget that feeling, like forget that it and forget the positive reinforcement that when you get out there and ride your bike, you actually end up feeling better afterwards. So it's great to like reinforce that with yourself by being proud of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Scout, can you go next?
Yes. So I have OCD, and I've had OCD for a really long time, ever since I was little. My content is usually around scrupulosity. I also have relationship themed OCD that I'm kind of working with right now. And this morning, I related well to my anxiety. I was sensitized when I woke up this morning, and I knew why. So I didn't spend a whole lot of time trying to figure out what that meant or what was going to happen because of it. I didn't feel this morning when I woke up like going to work. It was kind of like a day where I just wanted to like not do anything, which is unusual for me. But I got up because I knew that I would feel better after I went. And then when I did get anxiety, I kind of just stayed focused on my job and what I was doing. And then the other thing that happened is I have this thought belief that I'm bad, which kind of ties into all of my OCD content. And this morning, because I was sensitized, I knew that's why I was having that thought. And so I was able to fairly quickly say, that's that false narrative. And then again, go back to what I was doing.
I'm really happy to hear that. And you're actually using a lot of language that might be challenging for people that aren't in CBT therapy to understand. So just to put some more language to what you were just describing. So scrupulosity is excessive concern with right and wrong. And so that's one of your OCD content areas. The other one you said relationship OCD can be when you're in a good relationship and you're preoccupied with either do I or don't I love my partner, or do they or don't they love me back? So it can kind of be in either direction, but the difference between relationship anxiety, which can be actually a problem to solve or just an uncertainty that someone might have, and relationship OCD is typically that with OCD, there's no problem in the relationship. There's just anxious preoccupation with whether or not there is a problem. So just wanted to clarify that point. And then when you're saying you're sensitized, good use of that word. So that word is coming from the concept of anxiety sensitivity, which is when, the first fear that someone will have will be their automatic fight or flight reaction plus catastrophic thinking. Our second fear or anxiety sensitivity is when in the presence of that first fear, we add a like, oh no, there's something wrong with this. And so anxiety sensitivity, the oh no, I don't want to feel this way, is a trait that we see in like at least about a fifth of the like 1 in 5 people. And if you're a person that kind of has an oh no when you feel anxiety, then states like being hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, stressed, sick, or around your menstruation can all be times where you feel sensitized. So Scout just did a great job describing like this was a situation where she got sensitized, and then she noticed that her mind said, we don't want to do anything today, but then redirected her attention and kept going with her day anyway. Scout, do you have anything to add to that, or did I summarize it okay?
No, that was perfect.
Okay, glad to hear it. Sophie, can you go next with what you introduce yourself and what you're proud of?
Yeah, most of my content is around harm And I've had contamination OCD too, around kind of with the end thing being harm still. I also have anxiety and have had a lot of anticipatory anxiety lately because I started a new job. And I am proud of, I'm starting my third week, and I've gradually kind of gotten a little bit more confident in my abilities at work at my new job. And I think the biggest thing was I went home for Christmas and kind of expected to have a rush of like anticipatory anxiety as I thought about coming back to work, but I haven't had that yet. And I think if I do get it, it's still like not something that's going to like, I'm not worried about, I guess, like it won't ruin my day, or, you know, I'm okay about it happening, and I can just redirect my attention.
I'm happy to hear that. Is there anything in particular that you've learned about anticipatory anxiety that helps you be in a state where it doesn't threaten you?
I think the biggest thing is just like, it's okay that it's there, like letting it be there and not trying to prevent it from being there, or like using it as a sign. I think the biggest thing was I would use it as a sign that like, oh, this like job isn't right for me, or this position isn't right for me, or like this environment's not right for me because I'm getting so much anticipatory anxiety. But I think it's just like, I have a really interesting mind. So that's kind of what's going on.
You've really embodied like anticipatory anxiety is not a is a feeling, not a fact or prediction, and it's not indicating anything about the future. It's more like a indication of what might have happened in the past and the way that you resisted against anxiety in the past.
Yes, I definitely try to use that.
Great. I'm happy to hear that.